If you're planning on installing a water treatment system or you want to improve your pressure or flow in your house, the next step is to find out how many gallons per minute your well pump is actually putting out. This is very easy to do. It's called the well pump flow rate. I'm going to walk you through the simple items you need and how you can measure this even if you've never done it before. It's very easy. Hi, my name is Gerry Bulfin, Master Water Specialist, and I'm here to help you improve your water quality. Welcome back to our channel. How to find out your well pump's flow rate. So this is actually very simple. Most wells in the US and Canada have a simple submersible well pump that operates at one speed. That means when it turns on, it produces one flow rate. And when we're talking flow rate, we're talking gallons per minute. So for instance, it might be 10 gallons per minute, 12, 15 gallons a minute, or anything. It could be 5 gallons a minute. It's all over the place depending on the size of the pump and how deep it is, and other restrictions, of course, such as piping or valves. But generally, one flow rate, and say it turns on at one pressure and off at another pressure. So as an example, many home well systems are set up to turn on at 30 or 40 psi, pounds per square inch, and turn off 20 psi higher, say 50, 60, or even 70 psi. So you get a range, and you may even notice this in your house. Sometimes you're using water in the shower or filling something, and then all of a sudden the well pump kicks in and you have a little bit higher pressure. So this is the differential that you're dealing with. So with this simple formula, it's very easy to measure the water coming out of your pressure tank and then find out how many gallons per minute the well pump is filling it back up. Now, this is not to be confused with your well's production flow rate. Like for instance, you might have a well that produced, say, recovered at 4 gallons per minute, meaning if you pumped it dry, it would fill in at 2 or 4 gallons a minute, maybe very slowly, which is unusual, but it happens. And then once the well is filled, you could get water out of there at 10 gallons per minute because that's what your well pump pumps. So that's all we're concerned with here. If you need to find out what your actual well water production is, what the well's production is in terms of how many gallons it can pump out during an hour or 24-hour period, then you need a professional to actually do that for you. But for this, we don't need any special tools. We're just simply measuring currently how many gallons per minute the well pump can pump. In order to calculate this, we're talking about a standard well pump, submersible well pump, where it turns on at one pressure and off at another. If you have what's called a constant pressure pump, or which uses a variable speed drive on a pump motor, and it keeps your pressure at one pressure all the time, then this little formula doesn't work. We're talking based on the standard one that's still most common, where it turns on at say 50, off at 70, that kind of thing. So the first step is to make sure nobody's using any water in the house, and open up a spigot or hose bib and let the water run until you hear the well pump. When you first run the water, you're actually getting water out of the pressure tank, because the pressure tank is a captive air pressure tank and has a diaphragm or a bag in there that is under air pressure. And that's what, when you first turn it on, you might not hear the well pump turn on, or the well pump isn't running. You're just getting some water out of the pressure tank first. So the idea is we want to drain the water out of the pressure tank until the well pump turns on. And then we want to, once the well pump is running, we want to turn off the water and let the well pump up the pressure tank until it pumps up and turns off. So the idea is you're starting with a full pressure tank. The next step is to measure the water in gallons coming out of the pressure tank until the well pump turns back on. So what you would do is you would get a 5-gallon bucket and a hose bib and garden hose, or you could do it in a sink too, but usually somewhere around the pressure tank, there's often a hose bib. And so you might get 5, 10, 15, some cases, if you have a large pressure tank, even up to 30 gallons of water out of there. The idea is you want to fill up a 5-gallon bucket, dump that out, and just keep measuring until you know exactly how many gallons you can get out of that pressure tank before you hear that little click and you hear the submersible pump turn back on. Usually you can hear it. Sometimes it's tough for people, but usually you hear the little click and you'll hear the pipe move a little bit and a little hum, but most of the time you can hear the well pump turning back on. So the next step is to time the pump cycle in seconds. You want to find out how many seconds it takes once the water has drained out of the pressure tank that the well turns back on. So this is very simple. All you need to do, you don't need to measure the water. You just want to run the water until you hear that pump turn on. And as soon as you do, close the hose bib for the water that's running out. How many seconds it takes for that pump to run and fill up that pressure tank and shut off. For example, say it took 3 minutes for it to turn on and fill up that pressure tank and shut off, then you just want to write down 180 seconds because there's 60 seconds in a minute. And so 3 minutes, you have 180 seconds. The next step is you want to divide the number of gallons by seconds. So for instance, you take the gallons that you measured in step 3 and you divide that by the number of seconds in step 4. And then the final thing is you multiply it by 60. So here's an example. I'll just read it for you. Say the number of gallons collected during drawdown of your pressure tank was 5 gallons, which is not unusual. Some people have very small pressure tanks. And then the number of seconds in the pump cycle to refill the pressure tank was 25 seconds. So the gallons per minute is you take 5 gallons divided by 25 seconds, and then you multiply it by 60 seconds in a minute, and that gives you gallons per minute. So in this case, he had 12 gallons per minute. And so this tells you what your typical average flow is coming out of your well, which is very important because if you ever need to treat your water, or say you're setting up an irrigation system, if you only have 6 gallons a minute or 8 gallons a minute, then you wouldn't want to set up a system that was designed for 20 gallons a minute. And also there are various types of water treatment equipment. Say you need iron treatment, or you're looking for a sediment backwash filter or something, then all these different systems, from whomever you would get it from, they have certain requirement, a minimum flow rate of which they operate at. So for instance, say you just want to get the biggest, best system you can get. And so you buy this big system. Unfortunately, it might require, say, 15 or 20 gallons per minute to backwash and clean itself, whereas you only have 10. It's not going to work. So knowing the flow rate and taking the time to do this simple thing is really critical. The other thing that's interesting is that if you do your flow rate periodically, you can start to spot if anything's going on with your well. By periodically, I mean every year or two. Like if you start to suspect something, you can go back and do the same flow rate again and say, hey, that's funny because I used to have 10, now I've got 8. What's going on? A lot of times well pumps will start to clog from iron bacteria, or maybe something happened with the well or the well screen. And it's time to call your well professional, your well driller, or your pump contractor, and he can help you. So having this baseline of knowing what is your well pump producing now is really critical. And it's very easy to do yourself, and you don't need to spend any money to do it. Okay, now that you've tested your water, done your physical inspection, and you've measured your well water's flow rate, the next step is to select, if you need it, what type of water treatment system you can get, or what you can do to improve your water quality. And I'm going to go over that in the next video. Just click the link on the screen here, and I'll see you there.